Yes, we're back. Another episode. Welcome back, ESL Trailblazers. I'm now the ESL Trailblazer, and this episode is a little bit of a bonus. We're going off the fluency stories for a moment because I want to share with you something that's very, very relevant to fluency, and that is culture. And culture goes hand in hand when we're trying to learn how to be fluent in the language. Okay? In English in particular, we like to soften. We like to be polite. And we try as much as possible to not embarrass or offend the person that we are speaking to. Whether we're making a suggestion, giving advice, making a request, or just flatly asking for something, okay? So I was in class and my students challenged me on an exercise that was in our course book because they had to tell me if they agreed or not with the opinion that was in the text. And one of my students said, "This is not an opinion. This is something obvious that's being stated here. The person is not really expressing their own view." And we were going back and forth and it was getting kind of heated. But then I finally realized what was going on. Polish people, when they speak to each other, they're very direct and they're very straightforward. They don't have to be polite or they don't have to soften the way that they say something in order to not maybe embarrass or offend the person they're speaking to, okay? I gave the example to my students that it's very strange for me when I go to a shop to say, "Please give me," which is poproszę in Polish, when you're asking for something in a shop. I can never bring myself to ask because for me that translation, "please give me," we never say that when we go into a shop. We never say, "please give me," right? We say, "could you please," or "may I have," or "is it possible to get maybe that," yeah? So you add all of these extra words to make it an indirect question and to soften it as much as possible to be polite, yeah? And when you use that language with a culture like Polish people, they're gonna find it very unnecessary and strange, and it's not gonna make sense to them why we do it, okay? So I wanna highlight this because I think it comes back to something I've shared in a previous episode, the very first one, politeness and softening. Boom, check it out right here. And it's also connected to the culture lessons that I've also shared here. There's one, boom, right here. I've also done another follow-up to politeness and softening because it's such a common area of difficulty to understand for Polish people. But boom, check this out, okay? But to get to my point, praise versus criticism. Polish people grow up in a culture of criticism and they're used to receiving it, and so therefore they're used to giving it. We are coming from the opposite side, right? We're growing up in a culture of praise, and this is very easily reflected in how we speak to each other, and that's what I want to highlight in this short episode because we don't necessarily notice it even though it's happening right in front of our eyes, yeah, like as someone is speaking to us. So the basic example I've already shared to you. You go to a shop in Poland and you say "poproszę," or you say to somebody "podaj mi," yeah, "please give me," right? In English we would say "I would like," or "could I please have," all right? When we're expressing an opinion, a Polish person is going to express their view and say, "this is what I believe," yeah, or "this is what I think," or "in my opinion this," okay? And in English, we might say something like, it could be that maybe some people have this opinion about this, okay? And for a Polish person, that way of expressing an opinion is not going to make any sense. And that was the kind of phrasing that was in the book that confused students. Also, if you're making a suggestion or asking for something, you're going to use a similar kind of structure potentially in English, right? You're going to say something like, "is it possible if I could have this over here?" Or "is it possible maybe to get this? Is that what you want, or is that not what you want?" It's an easy way to get confused if you're learning the language and you want to reach that fluency level. So finally, criticism versus praise, coming back to that. Typically, when you're in Poland and you show somebody something that you have done, you've achieved, you've completed, it's very often, and if you're Polish and you're watching this, you know what I'm going to be saying in a second, okay? What does a typical Polish person say? And I know I'm overgeneralizing a little bit, but come on. Let's be honest here. What does a Polish person say when you show them this thing that you've done or accomplished or built? They're going to say, yeah, that's really nice, but you missed the spot here. Or, wow, that's great, but why is this out of place? Okay? Or in school, yeah, this is a really good writing, but you made a spelling mistake, or you made an error in this paragraph. Like, there's always a criticism that follows it, even if it's a small one. There's always a criticism. It's never perfect. It's never like fine, it's good, it's great. Okay? That's how Polish people praise you. They like, there's always going to be a little piece of critique in there. And in the States, or in England probably too, the English-speaking countries in general, what do? We always say when something is poorly done, for example, that we focus on the positive, right? We say, yeah, this is not up to the standard or what you expect, but hey, look, you have it and it's great, and enjoy it. And some people can make do with even less than this. Like, don't worry, it will be fun. You're always trying to spin it. You're always trying to spin the positivity, okay? If someone falls off their bike while they're learning as a kid, you never critique them. You always say, don't worry, you'll do better next time, or keep trying, work at it, keep practicing, okay? Maybe you need a little bit of more practice. We're always encouraging, praising, focusing on any positive aspect and not the negative. We're trying to avoid it as much as possible. So that's my little highlight of culture in this episode that I wanted to share with you. Please share in the comments if you've had any experiences where this intercultural competence, what we call it in academic circles, has affected you. And don't worry about the academic term. Just have you been in a situation where you have felt strange or uncomfortable or confused by a reaction or wording that was used in that situation? Okay, I'm very curious. I'd like to hear the examples. Thank you very much for your viewership. I look forward to the next episode. Stay tuned. More to come. Share if you care. That's all I got. Till next time. ESL Trailblazer. See you then.